Today on the Dad the Best I Can show.
They also had this bigger kind of aspiration. Almost all of the parents wanted their kids to become smart about money in general, and they wanted them to learn to make trade-off decisions and save their money. They wanted them to learn how to invest. They wanted them to learn to give back. They wanted them to learn that money doesn't grow on trees and you have to earn it. So there were just all of these kind of things came out of the conversations with parents. And so that's what led to the mission of Greenlight. And the mission of Greenlight is to help parents raise financially smart kids.
Welcome to the Dad the Best I Can show. My name is Rob Roseman. Who wants to be a millionaire legend, Chicago futures trader, Vegas poker pro. Now I'm a dad to 3 kids, ages 7, 5, and 2. Phew! Wears me out just thinking about it. Each week we bring on high-performing dads like you, entrepreneurs like Jesse Itzler, CEOs like David Cancel from Drift.com, athletes like Ken Rideout, best-selling children's authors like Zach Bush, to tell us your stories, your dad tips and tricks, to help all of us make it through dad life. We have a brand new website over at dadthebestican.com. Go on over to dadthebestican.com and sign up with your email. It's 100% free, of course. Be the first to hear brand new dad guests and get weekly dad tips in your inbox. Okay, enough out of me. On to today's show. All right, welcome to the Dad the Best I Can show. Today we are lucky to be joined by Tim Sheehan. Tim is the CEO and co-founder of Greenlight. Greenlight is the debit card that teaches kids how to become smart about money. And my favorite part, gives us parents some real peace of mind. And of course, Tim is also a dad. Hey, Tim, how's it going today?
Good. Thanks for having me, Rob.
Oh, my pleasure. Where are you calling in from?
From Atlanta.
Well, I am down the road. I was just down in Buckhead. We live up in Roswell. And
Nice.
yes, love heading down there. Kids Museum, so much to do for kids. The Coke Museum, though
That's right. It is. And the what is it? The puppet theater as well.
Puppet Museum.
For the younger kids. I remember when my kids were real little, they loved that one.
Yeah, I didn't grow up here, but I can imagine. I'm starting to see how fun it is for kids. That and more parks and chances to play sports than I've ever seen anywhere else.
That's true. Yeah, lots of sports teams for kids and lots of parks, which is nice.
So, Tim, I am very excited to talk about Greenlight, but first and foremost, you are a dad. How old are your kids now?
I have 4 kids, 2 boys, 2 girls, and let's see, the oldest one is 20. Next, that's Jack. Sydney is 18. Clara is 16, and Wes is 10.
See, first of all, much respect. Anybody that can go over the number 2 for kids gets my instant respect and admiration, because I have a glimpse of what that entails. I've got 3 at home, and it's a whole other ball game. So
it is. You have a small team.
Yes.
It is. It's a lot of work, but they're great kids.
Yes, and I imagine a lot of those skills that you get from parenting can translate into starting a business and dealing with different personalities and problems.
Oh, totally. You learn to, patience and kind of how it is interesting how even within the same family, kids can be very different. And yeah, so there's definitely a lot that I can apply both ways. Either that I've learned with my kids that helps me at work, or something at work that will help me with family life.
Yeah, and a wide range. 20-year-old, I imagine, even when he was growing up, that's a lot different than the 10-year-old. I don't even think, was the iPhone even out back then?
No, yeah, it wasn't. He was born in '99, so yeah, no iPhone. I remember, like, one of the things that we did together is he, because he was fascinated by technology, I guess probably because I was always tinkering with it. And I remember one time he drew this picture, and this will sound completely made up. So, but believe me, it's true. He drew this picture where he was trying to in a phone. You'd have it would be a computer, it would be a camera, it would be a printer, and like just this whole multi-function thing all as one thing as your phone. And I was like, wow, Jack, that's pretty cool. But anyways,
And his
so
name is
he
Steve Jobs. Is that your child?
exactly. But and so anyways, he's always been real interested in technology, and probably I'm sure got that from me.
Did you see that drawing and think, that's a good idea, or that'll never happen?
I did. I thought I was like, yeah, that I could see this happening. I was like, the printer though, I don't know about that one. And so, anyways, but that was when you heard that there was a printer included, then you knew a kid had come up with this
Yes.
because you just was like, well, then how would it work
Right.
exactly? Where would the paper come from? But anyways, it was kind of fun.
Yeah, I admire their imaginations. There's a lot of, when it's describe your house, there's elevators and moving sidewalks and all the fun things that
That's right.
probably aren't realistic, but this is the time to
My wife
dream.
and I, oh, totally. My wife and I were laughing this morning because we were looking at this old uh, picture, and it was when my youngest, the 10-year-old, I said he's 10 by the way, he just turned 11, so I should get that right.
Hmm.
He just turned 11 a couple days ago, but we were looking at one of these old pictures he drew where he was trying to make the case that he wanted us to get him a mouse, like one of these little pet mouses, really small ones,
Hmm.
and so just imagine, the spelling is hilarious and all of this, but it was like mouse rules, and so like mouse was MAWS, and rules was ROOLS, and then he had all these rules that he wanted to write down because I guess he had heard us say these things, or I don't know, he had kind of picked up and collected these things, and so one of them was you don't squeeze a mouse, and then another one was you don't fro a mouse with an F, as in Frank. And then there were these pictures that showed what would happen if you did squeeze a mouse or fro a mouse. There was some bad things that would happen where the mouse got X'd out, and some bad stuff happened. But it was pretty hilarious. And then there was another list of names of what the mouse could be called, and all three of his siblings' names were on there, and it was just hilarious, the list of potential names for the mouse. But yeah, it is fun. Their imaginations are awesome. And
Yeah, you get so many of these papers they come home from school with. I'm like, I want to throw out 99% of these, but there's a few gems that
yeah,
will give you some good laughs when they're getting married or
totally,
when they have kids, and you can show your grandkids, look what your dad came up
totally.
with.
And it's kind of one nice thing about this smartphone, because the only way we, were looking at this was we had a picture of each of the pages of this on our phones as a photo. So it's kind of nice, that's one nice advantage of these smartphones is it can help you keep track of those things that you might lose over the years, over 10 years or so.
That's a good idea. I don't know why I haven't thought of, instead of like keeping a pile of stuff, you can just take a picture, throw it out, and that's all they want to see anyways.
That's right, and that way it's easier to access later because after 10 years you'll be like, where would that be? I don't even know where to look for that.
Right. So, Tim, tell us about Green Light, how you came up with the idea, and it sounds like, I'm curious, were your kids the inspiration for it?
Yeah, yeah, they were. Like most, I guess, most situations, necessity is the mother of invention. And so, my wife and I, we were not carrying cash very frequently because we were making most of our purchases with debit cards and credit cards. And yet, as there's lots of circumstances where you'll want to, need to, or want to give your kids money, whether it's a school field trip, or we were talking about traveling sports teams, but that kind of thing, going to the movies with their friends, uh, the older kids all did study abroad. There's lots of different circumstances where your kids, especially when they hit middle school, will start to spend some time away from the parents. And there's circumstances where you might give them money, or maybe they earned it through an allowance or something like that. But long story short, we weren't carrying cash, and so we were kind of caught in this position where we either had to run to the ATM or borrow from one sibling to give to the other.
Mhm.
And so given some of the fintech things I had done in my past, I in my head was, thinking there's a better way to do this. And we actually, the only thing we were wondering is, did most parents have the same problem? And so we went and did some research to talk to parents in person. We actually did a survey, 2,000 parents nationwide, and and basically it was clear that most parents actually were having the same kind of challenge, which was they just were carrying cash less frequently, yet they had these circumstances where they wanted to give their kids money for specific things, and there were lots of challenges with that. The kids might lose it, they might not give the change back to the parents, which was
Mhm.
often the case. They didn't necessarily know what they were using the money on in all cases, and then they also had this bigger kind of aspiration. Almost all of the parents wanted their kids to become smart about money in general, and they wanted them to learn to make trade-off decisions and save their money. They wanted them to learn how to invest. They wanted them to learn to give back. They wanted them to learn that money doesn't grow on trees and you have to earn it. So there were just all of these kind of things came out of the conversations with parents. And so that's what led to the mission of Greenlight. And the mission of Greenlight is to help parents raise financially smart kids.
Yeah, I love that, and how you went about it in a true entrepreneur form is find out if this really is a problem for other people,
Yes,
which I'm sure they were lined up to tell you yes. I'm giving my
that's right.
kids bags, Ziploc bags with quarters and nickels in it that end up under the bed. So I'm
Exactly.
like, this clearly
That's
isn't
right.
working. But yeah, I like that because you're solving the problem, and then at the same time, you're teaching kids by showing
You
them
got it.
versus just telling them about money. And yeah, it is kind of
You got it.
fascinating how long we've been going without cash and how that wouldn't translate to the kids. So it is such a brilliant idea, and you guys do such a great job presenting it
Oh,
and
thank
all of
you.
the fun stuff that comes along with it. I know the first thing I thought of was, and I'm sure a lot of parents can empathize with this. I've got younger kids, 7, 5, and 2.
Yeah.
7 and 5-year-olds have their first green light cards in the mail. They're on the way now.
Oh, nice. Nice. I love it.
Well, I was wondering if they were too young because a lot of that is, but the reality is you're starting an allowance and chores,
That's
and
right. You got
and
it.
that anybody that's done a reward chart or anything like that has lost their mind after about 6 days. It's out the window.
You got it. You got it. You got it. That's exactly right. I think lots of families with the younger kids are signing up for the chores tracking, to automate the allowances, um, to have the savings account, and kind of one of the nice features is a parent paid interest rate. And so on average, the parents are setting it at about 18% APY.
Mm,
But basically, like, provide a strong incentive for the kids to save, because at a traditional bank account, they'll earn, like, maybe 1 cent or less
hmm
than that per month on in interest on their account, and that's not really going to excite them
hmm
or motivate them to save. And so our whole idea about creating this parent paid interest rate was, what, let's give the parents a way to really incent the kids to save. Because essentially what we were thinking is, if you get the kids to start to save and it becomes a behavior that they repeat over and over, and so then it becomes a habit, that habit they'll take with them from childhood to adulthood. And man, what a great
hmm
healthy financial habit to take with you into adulthood. So, anyways, that was why we created the parent paid interest rate. But yeah, the families with younger kids, they're using the chores, allowances, and the savings account that's all built into Greenlight.
Yeah, because I was hesitant. I'm like, is this applicable? Or do I have to wait till my kid is 11 or 12? And I think that's the other need for it. I went into Wells Fargo the other day and said, oh, I'd like to open up an account for my card for the same reason. And I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure they said, oh, they've got to be 16, or there were
that's
enough
right.
obstacles that I ended up
Yes.
leaving. The kids got their
Yeah.
lollipops and
Yeah, it's tough. Yeah, because they'll sometimes, a lot of the times they'll have a minimum age, but then they'll also want the child's social security number and all kinds of info about the child. And then also in some of the cases there'll be like this kind of $12 maintenance fee that they'll hit you with if your balance drops below X
Mhm.
in the bank account. So we just wanted to try to simplify everything and say, okay, look, it's $4.99 a month, but that covers the whole family. Both parents, up to 5 kids are all included. There's no other fees. Just try to basically simplify the whole thing and make it easy to use, and build it in a way where when the kids are young, they can get value from it and learn some things, but then also when they're older.
Yeah, I really can't imagine a greater skill that you can have as a kid. And if you can take that with you into college and then adult life, most adults, we suffer from these problems, and how much we could have benefited from something like this when we were younger really is,
Totally, totally. That was
yeah.
the thing. You mentioned how did I start this, and I remember in the really early days, as I was talking to, even my co-founder Johnson and I were talking, and I talked to others as well. But it was just what I started to see was that, some of the things that my dad had taught me, they didn't learn, like they didn't know. And so, for example, like I learned a lot about finance early on, and it really helped me in my life. Like it made a big difference, and learned how to invest, and of course, starting your investing at an early age, it has a massive benefit when you can add all those extra years to the compounding returns that you get. Even if you were just saving your money, not even investing it, just those additional years where it's actually compounding on itself, is a huge benefit. But I remember just thinking, and I think I was on vacation when I really kind of decided, all right, I'm going to do green light. And because I remember we were in the Caribbean, and I was sitting on this beach, and it was just gorgeous. It was essentially like a paradise for me. And I just remember looking around. I was like, everybody in the world should be able to afford to come have a vacation like this. And so it just got me really motivated to try to essentially increase the level of financial knowledge, help people at an early age so that when they're adults, they're managing their financial lives really successfully, and it's having a big impact on their lives. Maybe they have less stress, and they're hopefully happier, and maybe they can take a vacation that they otherwise maybe would not have been able to. Maybe they can send their kids to a school that they really would like to. But all of these things, it kind of got me really excited about trying to, I don't know, share the knowledge, like share the information, and hopefully affect millions of people in doing so.
I could totally see that because most people maybe didn't have the influence that your dad gave you. And
Yeah,
so a lot of people then don't know how to teach their kids because you can't really teach somebody something
that's
if
right.
you're not doing it. So I
That's right.
really love the idea of that. And like you said, how it just can exponentially benefit people for the rest of their life
Yeah.
because,
And they generally don't teach it in school either. So if you have a parent who taught it to you, then you're lucky and that's fantastic. And you probably have a leg up on everybody else. But I just wanted to try to essentially give the tools and the information and the all kind of packaged in an easy to use product that would make it, because we all know how busy parents are, right? Like, I mean, everybody is so busy. I just wanted it to kind of be able to be simple and easy to use and kind of fit right into their lives so that it wasn't like this thing they had to go learn how to do, in order to help their kids, that they could start using it, and their kids would start learning, you know, over time. It's all baby steps, just, learning how to save, learning that you have to earn your money. It's not just always just given to you. That you should spend wisely, because if you just spend, you're not going to have any money left over.
Hmm.
And if you have no savings, you're not going to be able to absorb, an unexpected expense that pops up, like your car needs to be fixed, and that
Hmm.
wasn't in your budget. You didn't plan on that. If
Hmm.
you have some savings, you can absorb it, you can handle it. Um, so it's all these kinds of things that I think I get excited about it, about the idea of like all these kids learning these things, because we all know how fast they grow up, and soon enough they'll be out on their own. And we want them to be healthy and happy in every way, including financially.
Hmm. Yeah, it really is. And I've downloaded the app because it runs through an app on your phone, which again, your kids don't need to have a phone to do it. You can control
That's
it, and
right.
the app is so smooth and easy. I kind of want to download it and have it for my own account because it just makes it so much easier. You're
Oh, that's
seeing
really kind of you. Thank you. That's
you're
nice.
yeah, just visually seeing it, and there being so few buttons. And I mean, I like what you said with the parent paid interest, that we could all benefit from that. I've heard a couple stories where you said people are even doing 100% interest, because if
That's
that'll
right.
if that'll
Yeah.
convince you to save
Yeah.
more, I'll give you an
Yeah.
extra $5.
That's right, exactly. It's like, because kids don't have a lot of money, so you can really set the interest rate really high. And I say this a lot, but it cracks me up because my youngest, he doesn't really know the word interest, or any of that stuff. So, like, he does now, but at the
Hmm.
time, a few years back, he didn't. And so he just referred to it as the free money account.
Hmm.
He was like, put all my money in the account where I get the free money. And so I was like, oh, you mean the interest? Yeah,
Hmm.
that's right. Yep, you earn interest in your savings. He's like, yeah, yeah, put it all in there. So I mean, it's just, it's very basic, but they start to learn like that saving is this good thing, so they get a positive association with
Hmm.
saving. And that it sounds simple, but it starts to affect their behavior, and then as they repeat the behavior, it becomes a habit. And as it's a habit, it'll be difficult to shake. They'll kind of save by default.
Yeah, I like too how you're saying to keep it simple. I mean, literally, that conversation sounds like what Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger might talk like, because
Yeah, yeah, I
they're
love
known
those guys.
for keeping it as simple as possible. So,
Totally, totally. That's how I learned how to invest. Really, is my dad bought me. I think it was called the uh, the Buffett way, I
mhm,
believe, and it essentially was all about how Warren Buffett approaches investing. And so I'm, yeah, a huge fan of Buffett and Charlie. They and how they've approached things. And because I've always believed that, if you understand something deeply enough, then you can explain it simply. If you don't understand it well enough, you probably cannot simplify it. And so I've always been impressed with their ability to, simplify these really complex things, or what appeared to be complex things.
yeah, I'm so excited to show my kids this. We're coming into the holiday season where spending gets rampant, and uh,
Yeah,
it does seem like we're living in a different time where the consumerism and the buying, it has accelerated. It's so easy to buy stuff, so it seems
it's
like
true.
this is a more important than ever. You always
It
could
is.
get baseball cards and a pack of gum, but today I can hit a button and
You're right.
something can be on my door that day. So that really is, I can imagine the people with financial problems is only going to go up. So learning these skills
That's right.
seems more important than ever.
No, you're absolutely right. And it's a good point. You're right. The lack of friction and kind of how easy it is to order things. You're right. It's probably causing, even more spending than you know, maybe traditionally would happen. But and it's actually, the holidays are a great time actually to teach your kids something that, isn't necessarily like a fun topic, and that's
Hmm.
budgeting. Like nobody really gets excited about budgeting, but the way to kind of teach budgeting in a way that is a little more interesting and fun is to work out, okay, so who do you need to buy, essentially do a gift budget. So who do you need to buy gifts for? Okay, mom, dad, my brother, my sister, my aunt, like whoever it is, you make your little list, and then have them also work out how much money total can they spend on gifts, and then they can start to work out, okay, how much can I spend on a gift for each person on my list, and essentially doing that exercise is a kind of, you know practical way to teach budgeting, and it can show kids like, oh wait, so I guess I can't just buy whatever pops in front of me for as a gift, because then I may not have any money left to buy for the rest of the people on my list. So I think I always used holidays as especially this, around Christmas and Hanukkah, like as a good time to teach budgeting, because you can use this gift budget approach as a way to teach it.
Yeah, I wish I had this card in my hand 2 weeks ago. My gift budget would have been much tighter, so I'm excited to get ours in the mail.
That's
Um,
great.
let's take a quick break for our dad tip of the week, brought to you by Kickstart Reading. Do you have kids between the ages of 3 and 6? I've got 2 boys, and when my older son was going into kindergarten, my wife and I quickly learned that we had no idea how to teach him how to read. We found Kickstart Reading and watched one 2-minute video together, and you could see his confidence take off. Bonus, I felt like Dad of the Year. Here's another dad talking about how Kickstart Reading is helping his boys learn how to read.
Hey there, this is Chris Heller, and I'm a big fan of Kickstart Reading. Each morning before school, I show a video to my 4.5-year-old son, and now his little 2-year-old brother is getting in on the action as well. I'm a big fan of the videos, highly consumable and engaging for young boys. Definite recommend for all parents out there who are looking to get their kids off to the right start with reading. Kickstart Reading.
Go to kickstartreading.com and use the code DAD to get 65% off right now. That's DAD, DAD. See? It works. Kickstartreading.com. Now back to the show. So Tim, on the Dad the Best I Can show, we like to do one dad tip. Do you have a tip you can share with other dads out there?
Yeah. This might be one you've heard before, but one that like I just I always I don't know where. I guess it was because my dad did it with me, but I was going to say play with your kids. So whatever it is that they're interested in, get down on the floor, play with them. If they're older and they like a certain sport, go play it with them, even if you're not good at it. I've played some activities where I wasn't very good at it, but it was just being involved and just playing with them. That whole process of playing with them, those are the things they remember to this day. The older ones still talk about these wiffle ball games we had in the front yard, or the kickball games we've had, or just all kinds of stuff like that. So that would be my advice: is play with your kids.
That is great advice, and it's a good opportunity to check your ego a little bit, make a fool out of yourself if need be, and
Totally.
your kids eat that up anyways. Anytime I
That's
hurt
right.
myself or embarrass myself, it makes their day.
Oh, they love it. They love it. Exactly.
So Tim, before I let you go, are you up for some quick rapid fire questions?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Tim Sheehan, what was your first job?
Oh my goodness, Paperboy.
What was your first car?
Toyota Corolla, 1976 Toyota Corolla that was white and had a hole in the floor, but the engine still ran really, really well.
What is your favorite meal to eat for dinner?
Oh my goodness. Probably steak or pizza.
What is your favorite movie of all time? You can choose drama, comedy, or both.
My Life as a Dog. It's a Swedish movie.
I don't know if you're a podcast listener, but do you have a favorite podcast you're listening to right now?
My wife caught me listening to this one. I'm gonna mess the name up, but it's about old murder cases, and I'll mess the name up, but I'll have to send it to you after I get off the phone with you and find
Yes.
out the actual name of it. But it's about like old murders that have happened in history, and running through the facts, and kind of just recapping it for people who maybe didn't follow it closely back when it happened.
And last question. I know you were a programmer when you were a kid, and like you, I owned a Commodore 64.
Oh, I
What
love it.
was, what's that?
I love it. I love that you had a Commodore 64. That's awesome.
Yeah, so what was your most memorable program or game that you created as a kid?
Oh my goodness. It was Sheehan's Cave, which I'm pretty sure I was copying Zork when I was trying to create that. But I remember playing Zork and Planetfall, and I was like, I'm going to create my own game, and I think I created Sheehan's Cave, but it was it was very much based on Zork and Planetfall.
Were these floppy disks? I don't even remember what they had on
Yes.
that
Yeah,
computer.
yeah, it was floppy disks, and no images. You would say like go north, and then you'd get a text description of like where you were, and and then you'd say look up, and you'd get a text description of what you would see when you looked up. Those were the days.
Yeah, I mean, just the remembering that feeling is so exciting. I don't even know what our kids would do if they saw those games today.
They'd be like, "That's it? What is this? You have to
Yes,
read it? You have to
yes.
read what it says?"
Well,
So yeah, it was,
that
but that was a lot of fun. That's where I got my start. Was that computer. I taught myself to program on it, and um, really helped me quite a bit as when I was an adult.
well, that's great, Tim. This was a lot of fun. Like I said, my 7 and 5 year olds
I
cards
should
are.
mention.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, I was going to tell you, Rob. One thing I should mention is relevant to this podcast is my dad gave me that computer. And what's interesting about it is no, I hadn't done anything to indicate that I would, I didn't request a computer. I didn't
Mhm.
ask for a computer. But he knew me. I try not to get emotional because he's no longer with us, but he knew me well enough that he selected that gift for me. And um, and of course, it changed my life because learning to work with that computer and learning to program, put me on a whole career in the tech industry, which, um, transformed my life for the better. Um, but it was just, I always remember that because like it was his idea to give me that computer, and what a gift it was.
Yeah, that is amazing, and it kind of in a lot of ways parallels what you're doing with Greenlight. If you're kids might not realize it, and maybe even as adults, but if you can teach even one kid to learn to save and change his life, it's a really
Totally.
great thing you're
That's
doing.
that's the way I look at it. Thanks for saying that. Yeah, it's the kind of stuff that they'll take with them, their whole lives, right? It
Mhm.
could really help them in their life.
Well, yeah, I really liked hearing it. I mean, just the website and app is incredible, but hearing the story and the why and how it can really change, especially coming from a parent going through it, it really resonates. And like I said, I'm excited to get it, and I recommend everybody, especially around this time, to try out Greenlight. You can go to greenlight.com or greenlightcard.com actually.
That's right. Yeah, it's greenlightcard.com, or you can download the app if you just search for Greenlight Card on the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store.
Yeah, well, in anticipation of our cards arriving, I have to give you credit, Tim. I set a 8:30 bedtime. If you can make it 5 days in a row before winter break, you will get a bonus $2 into your savings
Love
account on the
it.
cards that are coming.
Love
So
it.
somehow it works. So
It does work. It really does.
Yeah. And if I'm throwing them pennies and quarters, I don't think it really does it. So
It doesn't. Like it's funny, I mean, everyone is incentive driven, including kids.
Oh yeah.
So it does work. It does work. And like we were talking about, if you can get them to, kind of follow that behavior, it eventually becomes a habit, which is fantastic.
Well, I'm excited to teach them and also learn because, as adults, we take for granted. We have a lot to learn, and this could be a
Oh,
great way
totally.
to improve our financial skills.
Totally. Yeah. Thanks
Great.
for having me, Rob. I really appreciate it.
Tim, this was a great time. Let's be in touch, and I will keep you posted on our kids' cards.
Sounds great. I definitely want to hear. I want to hear all the stories. I love the stories
Yes.
of the
Awesome.
kids and where they're having to learn to make a trade-off decision or anything like that.
Oh yeah, the Pokemon game just got real. I can't wait.
That's
All right,
awesome.
Tim. I'll talk to you soon.
Thank
Thanks.
you. Yep. Thank you.
Thank you guys for listening to the Dad the Best I Can show. Go take 5 seconds, hop on over to dadthebestican.com and sign up with your email to get weekly updates, dad tips in your mailbox, get your questions answered on the show. That's dadthebestican.com. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe and leave us a 5-star rating on iTunes or Apple Podcasts. Actually, 5 stars, we could do better than that. Brooks? Infinity stars. Cameron, how many stars?
Infinity 1,000.
Infinity 1,000. You gotta one-up them in this household. Thanks. See ya.